Hey folks, Dr. Groovy Scott Grove of GroovyMusicLessons.com. I know that the majority of my audience and students are country fans and generally older than me. So if your beard, if you grow one, is nice and gray, this is probably for you. This is, as it says in the title, a very basic introduction to old school country lead guitar. There will be no bending notes, none of that. These are the solid foundation building blocks of everything. So these will be walking licks, meaning that they will be like, sort of like a bass guitar doing. Okay, so we're going to be doing stuff like that. I will show you actual examples here in a couple seconds. And then I'll show you a second example of what we'll do. So I will go through all this stuff very slowly. There's a backing track here. I will have that backing track playing for you later so you can play along with it by yourself without me getting in the way. Okay, so the stuff I will be teaching you first will actually be over C, F, C, G, as will the whole lesson be. Okay, so it will start off like this. From that, we will go just a slight bit further and incorporate a couple things that are not landing strictly on the notes that are named after the chord. So we don't have to stop on the C note just because we are in C. Okay, so I'll just take you outside this box just a little bit and get you stuff about an octave higher as well that will just deviate as much as this. So get you in that territory. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. If you think that is in your wheelhouse, then stick around. We'll get on it. I will make this very easy and explain it in great detail, so it will take some time. Don't let the run time mess with your head. Teaching takes time. Learning takes time. So stick around and we'll get right on it. Thank you. Okay, thanks for sticking around, folks. First of all, as I always do, if anybody ever wonders what kind of guitar I'm using in any particular video, this one is actually made by Dillion, D-I-L-L-I-O-N. Mr. John Dillion. I have 4 of his axes, actually, and if you ever want one, you can get a hold of him at DillionGuitars@AOL.com. Mention my name and you'll get a substantial discount on some of the guitars. Eddie Van Halen had one that looked just like this. It was called the Wolfgang, which is what he named his son. And being that it was named after Wolfgang, Amadeus, Wolfgang, people over Dillion decided to call this one the Mozart. Okay, so that's the model of this one. All their guitars have if they have humbucking pickups, they all have the push-pull pots that will split your pickups to single coils just like I'll be using today. I'll just be using my neck pickup split up into a single coil. Okay, as I showed on the video, we will be playing in the key of C. If you hear squeaking, yeah, that's emitting from my chair, not my rear. Okay, so in the key of C, to F, back to C, now to G, and back to C. Okay, so that'll be the backing track that you will get at the end of the lesson to play along with. It'll go around 5-6 times just to let you practice what you learned. Okay, so what we're going to be doing right now is just learning one lick that will cover the whole entire first part of the soloing. So in C, it's like you're playing a C chord. It's going to be that 3rd fret on the A string. Okay, that's where we're going to position ourselves. We're not going to play that note first though. We're actually going to go to the 5th fret and hit it, slide it up to the 7th fret, and try to make it a fluid motion. You don't have to go so quick that you pass it. Okay, so don't do that. Okay, so that's what we're aiming at. We will be coming so-called home back to this 3rd fret. Okay, so we're going 5, 7, the fret numbers. Now we're going to go up to the D string and do, okay, what's called a hammer on and a pull off. So we're hitting fret 5, then fret 7, then fret 5. So we hammer on, again, hit fret 5, hammer on, so you're not picking it. And then we pull it back off. Okay, for those not familiar with hammer-ons or pull-offs, you actually just hammer your finger down on the 7th fret. You don't pick it. And to pull it back, do a pull-off, you pull it off, but you kind of pick it with your ring finger. Okay, up close, we get, okay, so what we have is, okay, one last time. What's great is everything on this is on the dots. Okay, so you can remember everything's on the dots except for when we go to F, it's at the 1st fret. When we go to F later, it'll be right here on the D string on the 3rd fret. But for right now, you can pick all these. Okay, it's up to you. But this is a more fluid motion. This is the way I actually play it. You do what you will. These are just showing you the positions. In some places it will sound better if you pick them. Like that, you're picking all the notes. So it's up to whatever flavor you desire. Okay, coming backwards. Okay, we're actually going to the 7th fret where we've already been. Now we're just going backwards. So 7th fret, A string. Slide down to fret 5. We slid up. Now we're sliding down. And you can do a pull off if you want, or you can pick it to the 3rd fret on the A string. That's your C note. Okay? That's what we're looking for. So slow. Okay. after that, we will do the same thing. And just stop there. Okay? So we have both together. Okay? That's just what I'm going to show you. You can complete the lick if you want. So. And that will go over top of the backing track like this. That gives me enough time to get my scruples together to change to F. Okay, so again. And the way it sounds again over top of the track. 2, 3, 4. Now there I went and picked them. So if I was to pick all of them, so it's all totally valid. You don't have to do the slides and stuff. You can do that later if you wish. Okay? It's all good. It's just music. Play it the way you want. Okay, now that is what we'll be doing on the C. Now coming up right away on this backing track after that comes the F chord. Now we're just going to do the same thing, but there's not as many bars or measures to the F chord. Here's the C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, F, 1, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4. So the F is only getting a full count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whereas the C got 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. Then the F just gets 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. So when we go to the C again, it's actually going to get 3 total counts of 4. One of them being the second set of counting the F would have been given if everything made sense in the world. But no. Okay, when we go to the F, the first fret on the low E string. Okay, it's going to be played exactly the same as the C thing. Okay, exactly the same. But we're going to do it here, starting on the first fret, low E string. We're going to do the slide from 3rd fret up to 5th. Then, so whether you're picking it or whether you're sliding and hammering on and pulling off is up to you. If I have to pick it all. Okay, so that's what we have. F, and I like to just do the C note, the 3rd fret on the A string, to just kind of pause so that everything's not just what we're playing over and over and over and over and over again. Even though it will seem like we do give it a break just so it doesn't sound to the listener like that's all we know. We know how to pause and strategically do it. So we get this out of that. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that lets you see what we're doing next. We're going to do the whole C thing again. Okay, but we're doing the whole thing at the beginning like this. 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to the G. Okay, for as long as the G chord goes on the backing track, which is just a 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, then it goes back to C. Okay, so we're just going to hit the one note, just like we did on the C the second time around. So we're doing just the 3rd fret on the low E string when it goes to G. So again, that will end up being okay, so what I'm doing is I'm splitting them up. Okay, so the second time around I went, and then I just hold the F note, and then okay, which is exactly what we're doing with the C, but we do it in G. Okay, so that's the way we're going. To hear everything in context, here it is again, and again, this is just an idea. It's not the law. Okay, so play it how you will. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's just an idea. You play it however you want. You do as many things as you care to do. If you want to do it in all of them, just to get practice, go do it. Okay? I realize that it is a lot of moving, but lead guitar tends to have a lot of moving. But you'll hear when you want to stop, when it sounds cool, and just hang out on one note. Okay? So you just hang out on what's called the root note if you're playing C or F or G. Okay? So that's totally up to you. Now, we are going to do another couple of variations on this particular one before we move ahead with the other kinds of more advanced variations here in a moment. What we need to look at is okay, we can actually stop on the C note when everything goes to F. Yep, that's right. Because if you look at an F chord, it has a C note in it. Right there. Okay? So we're allowed to stop on the C while everything's in F. We can just stop on that C note like this. What I do there, I went backward one fret from the C and went to B. Why? Because if you play a G chord, there's not a C note in it. There's that B note. So that's the note I went to. So when it went to F, I can stay on C because the F note and the C note are all part of the C chord. Then we start over again with the backing track going to C. Now when we go to G, I I can do that, go back 1 fret to a B note, because it's part of the G chord. The C is not, so we have to move. Okay, so it's always, if you're doing straight ahead country like this, these 3 chord things, it's about 80% of the time that the songs are going to be like this, where you would do like C to F and C to G, that type of a progression. It's always going to be that the first chord, the C, you'd be able to play in C. And then when we go to F, you can still play the same stuff you just did in C. So check this out. This will be more advanced than what we're doing, but I'll show you. I'm going to play everything in the key of C, but listen, when it goes to F, I'll still be playing in C. So you can see how C is a cool thing, and how you can play the same thing for the most part, which I will explain what I mean by the most part here in a little bit when we start getting a little more advanced from what we're doing here. Okay, so keep that in mind as we're playing along with this whole idea of this. You can actually do what I just showed you. So one more time, just me showing you what is going on with what we just learned. I'm going to stop on the C when everything changes to F. So I will be going. There's F, but we're playing a C. And then again. When it goes to G, I'll be hitting that B note. Okay, so I'll do it twice through, and just keep that in mind. What we're doing is hitting what is called the third of each chord, but that's later on. If you're watching this lesson, that's on down the road. Okay, theory. Okay, so here it goes. Again, when it goes to F, I'll be stopping on C. And when it goes to G, I'll be stopping down here on the B because it's part of a G chord. Makes sense? If not, rewind it about 15 seconds and keep doing that till it makes sense. Here I go. I just went, just because I used one of the notes that was in the C thing. I could have used any of those 3. Okay, so I could have went. Okay, which you've heard a whole bunch of times. That's a great one to use there. Okay, so there is that part. And we'll go ahead and throw some more variations at you in the part coming up next. Okay, so now we're going to take what we have and transfer it to a different octave on a couple of these, on all of them actually. So if you don't know your octaves, as far as we are concerned today, it is simply from like C here. Okay, what we're doing is skipping one string, going down. We skip the D string and we go to the G string, and it's going to be 2 frets ahead. So we're at 3rd fret, we're just going to go to the 5th fret. Okay, so you go down 2 and up 2. That makes sense? So that's what it'll look like. Looks like you've got an open fret, which you do, in between everything. And then you're just going 2 frets ahead. So you got 3rd fret and 5th fret. Do it on F. You got the low E string on the 1st fret, 3rd fret on the D string. Octaves are always going to be like this. And G, 3rd and 5th fret, same as the C, but we're on the low E and the D string. So work on those. Okay, so that's how that rolls. What does that do for us? It gets us to be able to play in different places. So we get to go up there. So if we're doing our normal, we hit that note, the octave of the C. So we're going to hit that 5th fret on the G string. Now that we're there, okay, from here, when we went to F, we went to a lower string. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're on C, because we're an octave ahead of it, so same note. We're still going to go to a lower note. It's going to be exactly the same as what we did with the C. We go like up a string and backward 2. Same thing. We're going to go up a string and backward 2. So now we find ourselves on the 3rd fret on the D string. And we can still play the okay, same thing. Exactly. Instead of we've got, but with a totally fresh sound, so we don't have to keep going to the low one. We can pick and choose. Now, same as on the F, when we went up to G, we just go ahead 2 frets. We do the same thing from the F here to the G, because we're looking at G here, octave. Now look where you're at. The C is right down below it. Okay? That octave C. And then if we go F, we go back to C. Okay, to go to the G right there, I just went, I did the same thing. We're still on the dots. I went 7, 9, 7, 5. Or you can go 9, 5, 9, 7, 5. It just sounds cool. What I do there, the same thing we did before, the same notes. I just went from here and did the remainder of I did the last half of what we did at the beginning of this lesson. So you're in G. So just the last half of that. So you got back to C. What's that? That is cool, is what that is. Okay, that's what's called a 7th. Okay, this is just something I'm going to toss out there for you guys as just something else to be cool. This will be played during the C. I'll leave it out of everything else because we don't need it for anything else in this lesson. But when we're doing C, right before we go to the F, we can go 2 frets below the C. So like, then when we go to the F, why did I go there? Because I'll show you. So that 7th is just 2 frets back this way. Okay, I'll show it to you in passing. I'll use the new octave things that we're doing up here. Okay. Here comes the 7th. So you can hear I'm doing some new stuff. Okay, so I did that 7th right before we went to the F. Here it is again right before we go to the F. Okay, I'm in F right now, but I'm playing an A note. Why? Because if we play an F chord, the second note in that F chord is an A. So I went C, back 2 frets for our 7th, then back 1 to pick up the A note that is in the F chord. So we're just finding the nearest note to that we were at in the 7th that is in the F chord. It doesn't have to be the F, just the note that is in the F chord. See, so that gave us that cool little sound. Why did I go to this note? Because if you play a C chord, it's the second note in a C chord. That's the E note. But so we have to think about things like that. It's cool things like that that make the lead playing more interesting, so that you're not always not so stagnant. Okay, because now we can go okay, what was that? They're all notes that we've already played so far. So there's G, F. Now that E note that's in the C. Now this. That's part of it, playing the F thing. Or you could just go play on the dots. Okay. So yeah, there's some cool stuff to be done there. If you want that, it's 5th fret on the D, 3rd fret on the D, 2nd fret on the D, or the 7th fret on the A, 5th fret, and then back to C, 3rd fret, or the 5th fret on the G. Okay, it's just a cool thing. Again, if you missed it, roll it backwards. Okay, that's not what we're concentrating on, but it's a cool thing. Okay, so we're learning that we can use the other notes that are in the chords. So when we're in C, we can play the E note. What else we got? We got a G note, the next string. Okay, so that means when we're in C, we can go stop on that E, which we just did a minute ago and it sounded cool. Or we can go C, and what we're thinking of is that's a G, okay? C, G, octaves. So we know it sounds good. So you can always put a G in there when we're playing in C. It sounds great. Why? Because it's part of a C chord. Okay? So keep that in mind and use your octaves to find your way around to find different locations for these other notes that you'll be trying out on your own. I'll give you a few, and you get to try out the others and say, okay, every chord has 3 notes in it. Okay, every major chord has 3 notes in it. So does every minor chord, unless we start changing it to G7 diminished something, okay, times pi to the 3rd power plus x over yz. Okay, so now we're going to make sure we get these other octaves into play a little more. So we have our okay, I showed you that. Now the F, same as the old one. Okay, so same thing, we're just doing an octave. So that's the first dot, or the 3rd fret of the D string. The same exact thing that we've done on everything. Just know that you can do it. And a thing to remember here is we are in F, and F has a C note. So we can actually put a C note in that F, because there it is. Okay? So when we're in F, we can put it in there again. It doesn't have to be just during that. We can do the F as, like if we're doing the C. Now F. What was I doing? Just F and C. Guess what? I bet that works in G too. Yep, because there's a D note in G. Right there. And if you're a person who plays with 4 fingers on your G notes, there's a 2 Ds now. Okay, so keep that stuff in mind. There are more than one. There's more than one note in a chord, so we can use all those other notes. Okay, so again in G, the same thing. Okay, that is something there that will bring you what's called back home, back to the 1 chord, or just back to C. You're doing in G. We just did the, we're just using the octave C right there that we've already just learned to do. So we're learning to play up just a little bit higher. There's a lot higher we can go, of course. Same things up there. F, G, C, F. Okay, so it can go forever. Well, not forever, as long as your guitar neck is. So, what I'm going to do here is play this stuff with the C as I did. And I'll just do that, stopping at that octave. And then go to the F. Okay, I can stop on the G, even though it goes, the chord goes back to C, or the backing track, because it's part of the G, is part of a C chord. So check this out. F. See, it just went to C, but I can use the G chord, or the G note. It sounds cool. It doesn't have to be stagnant again and follow every chord So going back to C again. So it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to go back down to that C. You can just stop on the G, which is kind of cool because we're getting ready to do something else cool in G in a little bit if you want to, and you can pick up right there where we left off because you're playing a G note with the C. Those three notes together are a C chord. If you're playing the D, G, B string at the 5th fret. So you can stop on all those notes. Okay? Very, very groovy stuff to know. Okay, so if I was to play it straight though, we would end up with this. Again, like we had done earlier, it's just finishing out. There's the C. It's just finishing out. Okay, it's just going, finishing out what we did at the very beginning of this. Okay, so it's just going the backward part of it, not the first part, not the part climbing up. It's just doing the back half of what we learned on the very, very first thing we did. Okay? So, very groovy on that one. Okay? We're doing now just a little bit more of taste on this. It's like learning when to stop even more. Okay? So it doesn't sound so... Okay, even though that's fine and it's cool and you've learned it now, or learned it, I should say, there are other ways to go about this, and that would be like... Okay, so everything's totally different now. It's just because we're taking what we have already learned and we're just playing part of it. Okay? And just playing that much. Then the last half of that lick, but we just stopped somewhere. Okay, and this is called phrasing. You start to try to make your guitar talk. You've heard, man, that guy can make his guitar talk. That's what we're doing. We don't always talk like this and keep on talking straight through and do nothing else to it. And we have to add inflections to it and stop, pause, like that, and then start talking again. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so that's what I'm doing there. Taking parts of what I know from what we just did and talking. Okay? Just stopping and talking. But you have to listen to where the chords are and how much time left you have to talk over what chord. Okay? I know I have this much time in C. F, C, G. That's all I'm going to do at G. Back to C. Okay, have you learned all that stuff? Yes, you have. It's all just mixed up now. It's exactly what you've learned. We've just stopped and did things to it. When I was going, yeah, that's going from that G. Instead of going, I'm just using the first two notes of that and going right to that C. And I told you that whatever we do in C, we can pretty much do in F as well. So I just carried it from one chord to the next chord and kept doing the same thing. Here we go. F, C, okay, I had to change it when we went to G because there is no C in G. I just went back one fret like I taught you to do. Okay, because there is a B, that note, in a G chord. Okay, so that's all that was going on there. Everything I was doing was from to getting an octave higher and okay, or it's all the same thing, but I'm just using bits and pieces from each one. And I'm stopping, I'm taking a breath, and then I start talking again. And I just realize, okay, I've got all those notes that I've been playing to choose from, but what ones do I want to play? It depends on what you want to say. Okay, you can stutter. Okay, check out the stutter. Okay, see, so I'm stuttering all over the place. Fine, it's talking. Even if you have a stutter, you can talk. Okay, so you don't have to be moving around all the time. It's just to show you that there's more to come. Okay, so you can get from this point to some of my more advanced lessons where things like that start to happen. Okay, we get that one? All right. Okay, now we'll go just a little bit further. Okay, so now we're going to move on to something that is halfway between the two things we just did, and just give you another idea that is solely based on the two different things. This is going to be doing the, but done differently. If you hear that one thing, it's just echo or delay. Okay, why is it on? Just because that particular guitar sound happens to have it on. I don't know which button to push to make it go off. I just like hearing more notes than I have to play. That way I don't have to play very much. Okay? Let the machine play it. Okay, so we're going to play, like I said, somewhere halfway in between those easy idea and then the stuff that started to kind of hurt your head. Okay, what we're going to do now is play from one octave to the other. Okay, so just that. Okay, yeah, exactly. Okay, so now we're actually just playing it a little bit different. We're phrasing it different, I should say. We're talking different instead of we're doing. So actually a bass line, but it will give you some more ideas. This part could have been second, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but so be it. It's going to be in this order. So this is exactly what we played before, but with different speaking. to the octave. So we're going 3, because we're in C, on the A string. Sliding from 5 to 7. Sliding from dot to dot. Now 5 and 7 on the D string. Now 5 on the G string. Now backwards. So 7, 5. Okay. Then when we get to that 7 on the A string, we slide it down to 5 and then do a pull off or pick it when we get to the 3rd fret on that A string. Okay, so I'll play it along again with you in a second, and we're just going to do it on all 3 chords. So it'd be completing the whole thing on some chords, because it doesn't have enough time to do so. So we do half of it, like an F. Now back to C. Okay, so we got C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, F. 1, 2, 3, 4, C. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, G. C, F, only enough time for that C, then G, C. We only have enough time for half of it sometimes, okay? So I want you to actually play without the backing track and get the whole thing in. So you got... Okay, and do that on F too. And that is good for practice. We have to have practice. Do it in G. Yeah, as fast as you can or as fast as you care to do. Don't matter. It's all to teach you where you can and where you can't go when you're playing these chords. Or I should say when you're playing lead over top of the chords. Okay, again, we can stick the weird notes in because they're part of the chords. If we're in C, we can throw that note in. That was an E note because there's 2 E notes in the C chord. Okay, but it doesn't sound great going. You know, it's just not groovy, but it's fine to land there during things that make sense to your ear. You're like, how am I going to know it makes sense? When it sounds right to your ear. You can go to those notes and see if it sounds good. It's going to be proper because that note is in the chord, but it's just a matter of if it is ear friendly or if it's what you want to say when you are making that guitar talk. Okay? So those are things that you need to work on as well. It's just simply completing the see, that whole thing. So instead of just that, now we got Okay, so I just went and played higher on the C because I had more guitar there to play on. But things change when you get to the B string. Everything has to move up a fret. Okay, so if you're going to be going, everything's the same on the G string, but when you go to B, everything has to move up. No longer do the regular rules apply that I have taught you. They change on the B string and on the high E string. They just do. It's just the way guitars are tuned over here in the West. If you're somewhere else, you might have a sitar and it might be tuned different. Has nothing to do with this video, so that's called rambling, folks. That's just Scott going to the moon and back. Okay, so I hope you understand what's going on here for this particular lesson. It's just trying to get you the very basics of lead solos that will get you to, like I said, the other lessons that I have. It will kind of bridge that I know nothing to, okay, I know something. Now we can pick up something else that I get now. I understand it. Okay? Now, another thing real quick that makes you understand what notes you can play is this. If you're playing C, you know now that you can also play the other notes that are in the chord. Find out those notes in all the chords that we're playing so far, and you can do them in all the other chords, of course. Okay, so in C, there is C, there is E, and there is G. Then another C, and another E. So it's just C, G, and E. Okay, so we can play C, we can play G, or this G, or this C. Okay, but there's an E, we can play that E. We can play this E, we can play this E. Anywhere, we can play any of these notes. So while this stuff is going on, listen to what the different notes sound like with this backing track that I'm going to leave you with playing. But as the chords change, see if there's any notes that you can stay on that are the same as before. Because I guarantee in C, like I said, when it goes to the F, you can stay right there because the C note is part of the F chord. So check this out. Here's the C note. Why? Octaves. So I'm going to choose this one. So in C, I'm just going to play the C note. When it goes to F, I'm going to play the C note because we know it's in F. It's part of the F chord. And then when it goes back to C, I know I can play C because I'm playing C. When it goes to G, okay, I can't play a G. I can only play the C flat. Well, I can play a G, of course, but I can't play the C, so I have to go backward one. But check it out. Here's C, F, okay, so you see how that is. See what notes will work and last all the time through what chords or what you need to change them to. Okay, so I know that I can play that E note, okay, while C's playing. But when it goes to F, I can't play it because it's just one fret difference. So I have to switch from E to F. And then if I go to E again, when C comes, that's fine, because it's part of the C chord. Then when we go to G, the next nearest note is D, just the D string. So I know that in C, I can play E. When it goes to F, I have to go up one to grab the F note. So this is the kind of stuff I want you to think about. When it goes back to C, I can go back to where I was on that E note because it's part of the chord. And when it goes to G, the next nearest note, I could go up to G, but that's not the nearest one. The nearest one is D, the open string. Okay, so listen to these. Here we go. Over top of C, I'm playing E. C finally, because it sounded like I should. But you can see how these other notes are going to help you talk a little bit more. Okay? So don't just stick to C, 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 C. Then when you go to F, just sticking around on F, 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 F. Pick other notes that are in the chord. And surprise, when we did that thing, the 3 notes are going to be this. Of course, whatever chord you're on, C. Then that note. Then that note. So there's C, E, and G. That's just C again, octaves. So you know you can actually rest or stop or take a break in talking while on any of those notes. See? Okay, so I was thinking, what are the nearest notes that I can play? And also thinking, okay, I'm on the F chord, but I can still play in C. Okay, so a lot of different things going through my head, but then again, I was trying to make it talk simply, but make it talk. It's just like your first 2 years of trying to learn how to say something. We got to get our goo-goos and gagas out before we can start making real sentences. So goo-goo, gaga around all you want to, and then come back and grab some of my more difficult lessons. I hope this has helped you out a lot. And again, this is, yes, you're getting the backing track. Again, this is the Mozart model from Dillion. Okay, Dillion, guitars at AOL.com. Talk to John over there. And say my name, Scott Grove or Dr. Groovy, and you will get a fat discount on any of their guitars. Okay? You can just go to DillionGuitars.com and see all the stuff they have. A lot of groovy stuff. Like I said, I've got 4 of them at the moment. I bought them all, but I bought them at my discount because I said my name. Okay? Honest, that's the way I did it. You guys be groovy. Here's your backing track, and I'll say bye to you after this. Like I said, I'll let it go through 4, 5, 6 times. Here it comes out. Okay, again, C, F, C, G. C, F, C, G. Coming at you now. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Happy jamming to that. You guys all stay groovy. I already am. And I'll talk to you later. Don't forget to visit me at groovymusiclessons.com. Take care.